Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast here. This will be one of my last few broadcasts before the end of the year 2012 as we approach the new year 2013, and one of my last few casts before I go out on my second trip out to snowboarding. So hope you guys enjoy. It's going to be a Terran versus Zerg here, and the Terran player we're going to be looking at the top right hand corner here is going to be the blue one, and his name is Shimoon. Casted a few games of him before. Pretty talented Terran player. His opponent is going to be SourGecko, or SourGecko, and he is going to be the red Zerg down in the bottom left hand corner. Terran versus Zerg is the matchup for today, and it's going to be on one of the snow-peaked climates here, the ice maps in Heart of the Swarm. So, as you guys all know already, the Heart of the Swarm is scheduled to release in a couple of months here. It is going to come out in March, so there isn't that much more time here for Blizzard as they set their own deadline to go ahead and polish out the game. Cannot wait to see what happens as we get nearer and nearer to the release of Heart of the Swarm, because I fully expect that this isn't the final build yet, and I've been getting kind of some rumors and some whispers here and there that a lot of things might, a lot of things are still coming to change as well. So just really excited as the horizon of, the 2013 is coming, new year, new games, new stuff. Just a lot of good fun. But we'll see what happens in this matchup here. It's going to be a TVZ once again, and typically in Terran versus Zerg, you do see the Zerg player go for a quick expansion, and unless his name is Cats, he's probably not gonna be throwing down 4 hatcheries right away. Something weird about Cats lately and hit that build. I don't know what it is, but I've been getting a lot of replays too of people sending me in games that they've played against Cats. So I'm thinking about casting some of those just to mix it in a little bit. Then you won't really know if he loses or wins, and it's always good fun. But we'll see what happens. Shimoon's going to be the Brute Terran once again, and he is going for a 1-Rax. Looks to be a gasless fast expand here. He does allow the drone inside, so this is going to be detected by SourGecko, and he's going to know what's going on here as that SCV is already making its way down to the natural expansion, and usually that does signify that they want to go for a quick expo. He's going to mine a little bit of minerals first as he brings out a Marine as well, just to make use of any mining time that you can get as the expansion now is on the way. One SCV is also going to make its way over to the Zerg expansion just to go ahead and get a little bit of scouting intel for the Terran side. And we don't see any gases coming up right now. It's actually going to be just a normal expansion plus spawning pool. And usually, look at that, he's even going to steal 5 minerals as well. Better get out of there, though. He's in dangerous waters. A lot of times, players will send the worker through the mineral line, and it's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not worried. No one's going to ever attack me through there. But, some players will actually go through the drill of telling 5 or even more of their workers to attack that worker and get rid of it, even though you actually end up losing a lot of mining time for that. Sometimes you just got to get rid of that scouting worker. But going back to what SourGecko is doing here, he is going for a gasless opening, which typically means the Zerg is probably going to try to get a quick third hatchery down here. Now, on this map in particular, it can be very, very hard to hold off expansions in this area and then going onwards over to this area as well, because these are so far away from your main and your natural expansion. It's pretty hard to get creep connected between those areas, and because they're so isolated and you've got these very narrow choke points that allow Terran players to just kind of bottleneck your forces, it can be very, very hard to go ahead and defend those areas. So just keep your eyes peeled out for the late game scenario here, which I do feel like favors Terran a little bit on this matchup, on this map. One SCV here is going to try to get back inside towards that hatchery. It will be able to see it, and that's always nice. As a Terran player, you got to just make sure, is he actually on 2 bases or is he going to 3 bases? And checking for that third hatchery is pretty critical. So it's nice right there for Shimoon, because he's going to be able to, contour his build accordingly against SourGecko here, and it looks like he wants to go for factory-based play. Do note this is as the latest patch, of course. I've been pretty much casting all the latest patch games, and so that does mean for Terran at least, Widow Mines now only do 120 damage instead of 160, and there are various small changes to Infestors as well. The projectile shoots out a little bit faster, I think. It has a little bit more range again. But regardless, very slight changes. I think the biggest change of all probably was the Widow Mine, and of course the Medivacs now having emergency boosters moved over to Fusion Core. So you can't actually get quick Medivacs right away. Not emergency boosters, but the heal for 5 health per second has been moved to the Fusion Core. So you can't actually heal as much as you used to be able to right away, but it still allows Terran players to play Bio and then later on look forward to that upgrade at the Fusion Core if they want to maintain Bio, because that was a problem I feel like with Bio in Terran versus anything almost. It was just so weak in the late game, lacked splash damage, lacked strong units, and the ability for Medivacs to heal a little bit more definitely bolsters that type of strategy. But I don't think Shimoon is actually going to be going for Bio here. It looks like he's adding on a second factory. So we're probably going to be seeing mech play from Shimoon, who's already got 4 gases in fact, and he's pumping out double Widow Mines right now out of the reactor factory, and he's got a tech lab ready for the second factory as well. So I do believe we're going to be seeing probably not the starport going on right away, probably this factory to get either maybe drilling claws or siege mode or blue flame. Obviously those are the upgrades available, so we'll see which upgrade he goes for, but usually most Terrans opt to go for siege mode right away because it's such a good upgrade. It's probably the best one out of the factory tech lab of all, and let's see what he goes for here. He's got more than enough gas. It looks like he's gonna pump out, yeah, there we go. So siege mode is on the way, and he's got a couple of Marines working down this glacier right here, and once he's able to take that down, that'll also secure this expansion. So once again, I definitely feel like on this map, very, very secure for Terran players with the ridges, with the ramps, with the way the map is designed. Not as secure for Zerg, so we'll see how SourGecko deals with that. He is going up to lair right now. And it looks like he's about to finish up Zergling Speed. Also has Baneling Nest on the way. Couple of Widow Mines actually going in here. And this is always clever. When you can get a couple of Widow Mines burrowed next to this drone line, then the Zerg is in a lot of trouble. They've got to make Overseers. And he just finished his lair right now, so he can't make an Overseer. But it doesn't look like it's too necessary because he does have a Spore Crawler there. Will this mine actually be able to get to the back? And it's almost going to survive. It will survive. Very nicely done right there. But you know what? Because the Spore Crawler is there, all that SourGecko needs to do is just uproot the Spine Crawler, bring it a little bit closer, and he'll be able to start mining once again. So this used to be really annoying for Zergs to deal with, but then Blizzard said, oh, you know what, we'll just make it so that the Spore Crawler, oh, there goes the mine, but the Spore Crawler now doesn't require an evolution chamber, so you can actually make a Spore Crawler right away as soon as you finish a spawning pool. And that was a change to address players that were actually rushing one base Terran factory Widow Mines. So that's kind of out of the equation now. It's still very effective if you can get it back there, but we can see in this situation it wasn't too great. Hive is already coming on the way. Wow, that's a very quick Hive. SourGecko had that infestation pit coming up as soon as Lair was finished, so very good build there. And he's gonna rush up to Hive. He's starting the Roach Warren now. I'm guessing here because he's getting +1 missile and +1 carapace, he's gonna go for Roach Hydra Viper. You know, that seems to be the only thing that makes sense here. In my eyes, I don't think he's gonna go, you know, Zergling Infestor Ultra or Air at this point because he would have started the Spire already. So it definitely looks like Roach Hydra Viper is gonna be on the menu today for the Zerg player, and he's gonna try to serve it up to Shimoon, who's actually getting Drilling Claws now. He's going full on mech, Widow Mine, tank, Thor, and you know, the Drilling Claws allow the mines to plant down, to burrow underground in 1 second rather than 3, so it really addresses the mobility that Terran mech had with those mines. It was very, very slow and immobile, very hard to be aggressive with those in your army. So now that's changed, and you can see how quickly the Widow Mine will burrow. Well, not yet, but it will once this upgrade finishes. It's about maybe 30 seconds or so, maybe 50 seconds or so from completing. But for now, Shimoon's just placing his Widow Mines at defensive key positions. He's got the Glacier knocked down. He's got mines on top of the Glacier, so it's like a two-hole defense. He's even making supply depots behind his mineral line as like a moat, if you will, to try to continue to defend. But there is actually an offensive strike going on here from SourGecko, who's looking to bust through these rocks. Now, there is a barracks floating next to his side of the map, so he should know at this point, if he didn't know already, that the Terran is going for mech, and of course he lost some units to those mines earlier on. Now he's got to get out of there before those mines recharge, and it looks like he's going to bring in an Overseer actually, so that mine is going to go down before they can detonate. Very nice timing there from SourGecko, who just now finished Roach Speed and is finishing up Burrow. So very nice. Also saw about 5 Vipers on the way there, so he's definitely going for Roach Hydra Viper here. Showing you guys some of the tabs in play right now. Not too many workers lost this game actually. As you guys can note, it's been a pretty passive game thus far, and the income just showing that the Zerg is ahead by a slight amount, but obviously Terran makes up for that with meals. One key thing to note here, guys, in the late game for Terran, if you guys didn't know already, the Armory now addresses both Terran on the ground for metal and Terran in the air. So if Shimoon wants to eventually transfer his resources and his production into air, he can do so very easily because the upgrades do share across the board. So he can switch into Viking, Banshee, or Battlecruiser, and they will share upgrades with his current metal upgrades. And right now he is on 1-1, it looks like. Zerg is also on 1-1. But we do have an attack coming from Shimoon right now. This is Hellbat, Tank, Thor, Widowmine. So we'll see if the Zerg with Roach, Hydra, Viper will be able to combat this. It's going to come down to Blinding Cloud. And Blinding Cloud's, oh, beautiful Blinding Cloud, shutting down the tank line, shutting down the tank in the front as well. Now the Roaches all just scurrying up to try to do as much damage as possible. And these tanks have got to get out of there, but I guess Shimoon's just going to wait for the Blinding Cloud to finish up. But then the Roaches just ran up, right up to the tank's face. And even then, a lot of Roaches are going down, as they are very susceptible to tank firepower. But even at the end of the day, it looks like SourGecko will get that victory there, and that's the power of Blinding Cloud. A couple of clouds in key positions can really shut down a Terran player's army. A couple of Hellbats now coming around the backside. Shimoon wants to return damage here, and is going to try to get a couple of flamethrower shots. Oh, those drones are stuck because of the Queen, and about 5, maybe 8 actually drones going down total. A nice play by Shimoon, getting right up in SourGecko's behind and able to roast up a few drones here. But you know, the Zerg is still has more than enough workers, so it's not a terrible loss. But you can see that SourGecko did actually replace those workers regardless, as 5 more Hellions are coming around the right hand side here. But the drones have pre-burrowed. Now the Hellions can still burn the drones underground if they get the right angle of attack. But it looks like Shimoon isn't going for the drones, it's actually going for the Queen, which is a mistake. He needs to drop a comsat here, but I don't think he realizes there are burrow drones. Now he's got to see them though, as their carcasses underground are just exploding into a fiery mess above the creep. And yeah, so he was able to actually get a lot more workers than you would have expected. 24 workers killed now against the Zerg player. So yeah, starting off very well for Shimoon, who, while he lost his army in the beginning to that great Blinding Cloud drops by SourGecko, he has been able to get behind the Zerg economy and get a little bit of drone damage in. But you know what, this Zerg army is very, very strong. Those Blinding Clouds, you can see how powerful they are. That's forcing Shimoon to spread out his tanks, but the Widowmines in the front, my goodness, ripping through those Roaches, no problem. And the Roaches have got to wait for Overseer backup to be able to clear through the minefield. They do wait for the Overseers. The Overseer's taking quite a bit of damage from those Thors though. And finally now a Blinding Cloud comes down, not really going to be the best placed cloud. Tank spread is too good here from Shimoon, and that attack completely rejected from by the Terran player. So very nice job right there. It looks like we had a couple more Hellions trying to run in and get some more damage in, but that time they were shut down, it seems like. But Shimoon is doing a pretty good job here, holding on to this key expansion. The Terran player right now is on 4 bases. The Zerg is on an astronomical number of bases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 base Zerg right now. You know, it's basic. There's like a ninja expansion here in the middle of the map, if you will. The creep spread is phenomenal. But it's a very close game. 2,500 minerals banked up for the Zerg player, with 1,400 gas or so in stockpile as well. The reserves of the Terran player, not quite as large, but that's okay. Shimoon is still looking very good in this game indeed. Although there are a lot of Roaches going up here to the top left-hand side. Is SourGecko planning to make some type of an attack? It looks like he's spreading out his Roaches. Might be thinking about drilling from all sides here, but that's a lot of tanks. And his current unit composition, I'm not sure if it allows him to fight these tanks unless he can get Blinding Clouds down. Very nice clouds right there. And it shuts down 2 packs of tanks. But there are mines in the back here. Gotta be careful about those mines. Oh man, brutal. But it looks like he has more than enough Roaches. And he's going to be able to rip through that tank line. And this planetary fortress now is exposed. Shimoon really needs backup right now. He needs to macro out of his factories like never before to try to get backup forces over here, more tanks to siege up and secure this location. It looks like the planetary fortress is going to hold. Of course, anytime as a Zerg player you see a PF, you've really got to think twice about committing to that attack because of the SCVs that are able to repair that planetary fortress back up to full HP. It looks like some detection was provided there somehow, although I guess the Widowmines burrowed up, so those Roaches were able to push it back. But at this point, SourGecko does need Overseers. He needs more than one, actually, with this army, because it's very hard to keep Overseers alive versus Widowmines. They can go down very quickly, not to mention the backup in the back as well. As you can see right there, that Overseer fell almost instantly. But Shimoon is just doing a fantastic job of uprooting and burrowing those mines, and that's because he's got the drilling claws upgrade. He's going to be able to just be aggressive, and then when he needs to, fall back with the mines. Very quick mobility here with that new upgrade, and Shimoon now coming in with a lot of Blue Flame Hellions to try to find some more workers to roast up. The one thing that I've got to say SourGecko is doing a good job at, you know, credit to him, he's got a lot of hatcheries on the map, and his income, you know, is looking great for a Zerg player at this point. 80 drones. He might not be making as much minerals as the Terran player is, but that's because, you know, Zerg doesn't have meals. The one thing that Zerg does have is a ton of great spellcasters at Hive Tech, Infestors, and Vipers. So if he makes good use of those spellcasters, he should be in a good spot to take control of this game. But Shimoon just roasted up. So more drones at the top side. Looks like calling upon roaches to help rescue this hatchery. And roaches are almost like a unit that says, I don't care if there's mines. I might die to a mine or two here or there, but you know what? I've got millions of brothers to replace me. So it's not a problem at all. And look at this. Whoa, orbital macro center here. SourGecko has hit the jackpot. He's going to try to take out all these orbital commands, but a lot of tanks and Vikings coming back, and honestly, these orbitals could just lift off. Not too sure why Shimoon isn't taking the liberty to go ahead and lift off those orbital commands. A couple of Hellions in the back there. Oh, we're trying to get to the drone line, but we're taken out. Now, finally, the orbital command's forced to go to the sky as the tank and Thor army is coming in to save them. And this is where the glacier, actually, the rocks, the glacier, whatever I call it, the glacier, is not helping the Zerg player in terms of escaping. But the blinding clouds coming down, beautiful clouds, and those tanks are all but exposed. 3-3 roaches just ripping through 1-2 tanks, and the tanks in so much trouble. The blinding cloud was key right there, and SourGecko not only forces all the orbitals to lift off, but he also takes out the entire Terran army there. Shimoon probably thought he had them cornered into a wall because of the rocks right here, but then the Vipers came out from across the skies and blinding clouded the entire tank line. Of course, it looks like the Vipers all died because there were so many Vikings there. But at the end of the day, so worth it for those roaches, man. Anytime a roach can trade his life for a siege tank, I mean, a roach is happy enough to trade his life for a widow mine, but for a siege tank, come on, that's a very, very good trade. So a good job right there by SourGecko, and Shimoon now in a lot of trouble. He's got to land down these orbital commands and start to get back to work. He does have a lot of energy saved up. They'll look for him to drop, I don't know, maybe 20 meals pretty soon here, because his mineral intake is now dropping dangerously low. He needs to drop a ton of meals. So I'm not too sure why he isn't taking the time to do that right now, but it does look like maybe there's an attack coming from SourGecko in the middle of the map. One Widow Mine in the front here, detonating. The Roach will be able to survive that because they only do 120 damage now, not 160. And here comes the Roach, who's gonna try to barrel through the corridor here. Not the best position, but he could probably break through. But since there are Banshees there, it looks like SourGecko is gonna pull back and wait for the Queens to come up. And now he's got to be careful because these Queens are getting off creep. And anytime you get off creep, you do have to play that extra carefully. You don't want to allow the Queens to just take pot shots by the siege tanks for no reason at all. So it does look like SourGecko going to maneuver his way around through the right-hand side and now come back up to the 12 o'clock and try to take out a fully energized orbital command, but there are so many Banshees here. And remember, this is where the Terran player can easily switch between Terran ground and Terran air. The armor upgrade shares across the board in the armory for the Terran players. Remember, there was a change that happened actually midway through December a few weeks ago where a couple of slight changes. The armory now, the upgrades for the weapons are actually split apart. The upgrades for the armor are still shared across the board, so it's a little confusing. But as you can see here, it looks like SourGecko trying to come up with his Queens and his Hydras, but you know what? There's so many Banshees here. And they have +2 armor because remember they share with the Terran on the ground. This is going to be very hard for these Queens to break through. And now oh my goodness, the Vikings are landing as well, so they are going to be able to blast through these Queens. And wow, those Queens just all went down. But at the same time, it looks like SourGecko was able to take out that planetary fortress in the middle there with his Roaches and Hydras. Going to force the Vikings to go back up in the air. But a nice play by SourGecko while he loses all of his Queens. at the very least, able to take out one of the command centers in the middle at the same time. So not a bad job right there. A couple of Vipers still parked in the middle of the map here. It doesn't look like they really did anything. Would have been nice to see them cast a couple of abilities, but we do have a Roach attack coming here from SourGecko up to the top left-hand side. It does seem like there's an exposed planetary fortress here. Only a couple of tanks covering. These SCVs and Neos will not be enough to repair this back up in time. Not with this many Roaches and Hydras. And another building here, another main building here is going to go down for Shimoon. Going to now try to repair, but it's too late. And planetary fortress number 2 is down. Shimoon actually on the back foot. While he's got 4,000 minerals, he has almost no gas at all. And with such a huge lack of gas, it's almost like the reverse for the Zerg player. He's got tons of gas, but not a lot of minerals. But really, that hurts a lot more for the Terran player. What are you going to make with no gas? All you can do is make more SCVs or more Marines, and that is not going to help in this situation. Shimoon needs more gas-based units. Maybe Hellions, actually. You could just make a lot of Hellions and Hellbats, but I don't think that's going to be the keys to victory here, although the Hellbats are pretty effective against Hydralisk, as Hydras are considered a light-based unit. Now, look at this. This orbital command center is all going to go down here because now there are Hydras backing up this army. Unless Shimoon can corner these Hydras in, where have we seen this before? It's almost like deja vu. Will SourGecko be able to take out orbital commands and then get out of here in time? That's a lot of Widow Mines that are giving chase as well, so I don't think so. And SourGecko here, while he takes out 3 or so orbital command centers, he's going to lose his entire army there. Too many Hellbats, too many Widow Mines and Banshees, and this army will go down. So if there was ever a chance here for maybe Shimoon to make a counterattack, luckily he's still got one orbital command alive. He's going to replace that fallen one. If there's ever a time for Shimoon to make a counter, I think now is the time. There are 26 Hydras about to make their way on the field though, and Widow Mines, Hellbats, tanks are all pretty decent against the Hydralisks. But then again, the Hydras in Heart of the Storm have speed, so they're a little bit faster as well. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We do have ship weapons level 2 on the way. Recall, the ship and the ground weapons have been separated, but the armor upgrade shares across the board, so it's a little confusing. But that's just the way it works now with beta patch balance number 9, which came out a few weeks ago in December. A lot of Widow Mines here grouped up in this army. One thing you do have to be careful about in the late game when you've got a ton of Widow Mines, I'm going to show you guys the ability Sentinel Missiles here. It does 125 damage to the primary target, but it does 40 splash damage to all units nearby. So when you're in the real late game and you are coming down to the last few units that you've got available to you, you do have to be careful with Widow Mines, especially with clumped up air units like this. A couple of friendly fire splash shots from these mines and you can kiss your entire air army goodbye. So that's one thing that Shimoon does have to be careful about, but luckily for him right now, that's just entirely Hydras from SourGecko, and I don't think Hydras will be able to run up to the mines in time to detonate across this army before they get obliterated by Hellbats and siege tanks. Although one strategy I've seen work out pretty well is a Zerg player clumped up all of his overlords, literally like 40 or so overlords, flew them over the minefield and self-detonated all of his overlords, and also got a good chunk of the Terran army as well. So maybe we'll see SourGecko do that, but right now it looks like he is going to lose one base. At the same time though, he says, alright, fine, I lose one base, I'll come around the backside and I'll take out this planetary fortress, but the Terran army is on the way back. Will he be able to take out this PF in time? He is now starting to target fire it down, but he's going to take so many Hydra losses as a result. Oh my god, Hydra carcasses on the snowy floor here, and may their bodies freeze in hell, because that's a lot of Hydras that went down. He's going to now try to get out of the way, but he really only saved maybe a fourth of his Hydralisk army, and really Shimoon was able to take out a base, but he for free basically, and he was able to take out a base, but he lost a big chunk of his army there, so not good at all. I'm now going to be retreating his drones and his Hydralisk away from yet another hatchery. You can see here the units tab definitely, I think it's close, maybe favoring the Terran player actually a little bit more, because it's just purely 36 Hydralisks. And maybe SourGecko needs to think about making a different type of unit here to back up these Hydras, because just Hydras alone, not too sure if it's going to work against this type of AoE army. Here comes SourGecko's army once again from the east, but it is going to be repelled by all the Widow Mines burrowing down and the Hellbats coming in the front. Just such a scary force for Hydralisk to deal with. But now here comes some Corruptors to take out the Banshees and the Vikings. Not a bad idea at all, but they've got to be careful. If they get close to the Widow Mines, they will detonate on them. And here we go, the Corruptors. Oh my goodness! And you can see there, one of the tanks taking 40 splash damage, but not enough to actually make much of a difference. Here goes those units once again, and those Banshees are actually getting pretty weak. They're all in the red, so that's where I was saying Shimoon's got to play that carefully. Doesn't want to let Splash Shaman take out his own Banshees. Here comes the Hydras once again, gonna try to run their way up through the roaster, but there's so much blue flames here that the Hydras just can't withstand firepower of that magnitude, as the Widow Mines are coming back as well. And Shimoon now taking control here. I feel like he has been able to take out the Zerg army several times. Income right now 72 drones to 21 SCVs though. So it's still kind of close right here, guys. But the problem is you might have a lot of drones as a Zerg player, but what if you don't have any hatcheries to mine them out of? This is pretty much the last mineable base in the bottom right-hand corner. And remember, in the late game, these bases that are all the way isolated away from the main of the Zerg are very hard to defend. SourGecko is going to be hard-pressed here to make a hold. It looks like he's bringing his Corruptors up, but the mines are coming forward, and the mines can take out these Corruptors, but at the same time, SourGecko's prepared for this. He could actually force friendly fire on the air units. It looks like he was able to take out, maybe not take out any units, but he was able to do a little bit of splash damage. But I don't think SourGecko realizes right now, if he were to make maybe like 10 or so Corruptors and just try to fly them over this army when they're all bunched up over the mines, he could actually take them out. He could take out almost all these Banshees, I feel like. But you know, it's very hard to pull off. It requires the Terran to be completely out of position, having their mines right underneath their air army, and for the air army to be pretty clumped up as well. So it is difficult to pull off, but not impossible. And SourGecko right now bringing his roaches around the side. You can see there are the upgrades for the Zerg and the Terran player. It's a pretty close game right now, 156 to 150 supply. A lot of creep being spreaded over here, preventing this command center from landing down. But it looks like this planetary fortress has already taken root at the top left-hand side. So one base is mining for Shimoon. Here comes those Corruptors once again. And Shimoon, there you guys can see, he pulled his air army away. He's got to be careful there. Had those Corruptors actually committed to being just a suicidal Zerg unit like a Scourge, that would have been disastrous. Here comes those Widow Mines once again, though. And SourGecko has to be careful. Once those mines burrow, and they burrow in only 1 second, the roaches will just completely be annihilated. Here comes another attack, and the mines come out. The mines come out with the Sentinel missiles, taking out big chunks of Zerg roaches. And SourGecko just cannot fight firepower like this. He doesn't have an answer. He's coming in with his roaches and his Corruptors once again, but he's over the minefield. And it looks like it's going to be a battle to the death here, Corruptor versus Viking, and the Corruptor loses as well. So that's kind of the story of this game. I don't know if he's got anything left in the tank here to fight against this army. It's almost like if he could just take out the Widow Mines, then he could take out the rest of the tanks. And Shimoon knows this. The mines are the key here to his victory, because they're keeping any type of air unit away from his tanks and his Vikings and Banshees. And it looks like he's just continuing to march forward here with his tank army. Once again, the Corruptors coming in, but they're just coming in one at a time. Not a focused, not a concerted effort here to take out this army, and as a result, another hatchery comes down. And more Widow Mines coming in here. Here we might see some splash being dealt by the mines, but no, not really, as it wasn't close enough. A couple of roaches and Zerglings coming out though, and that will push these tanks a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, SourGecko will have to GG and leave the game. So Shimoon is victorious. Very nice play right there. Nice long 39-minute Zerg versus Terran, and a close one too. You know, SourGecko has been mining almost every base on the map, but at the end of the day just could not stand toe-to-toe with that Terran metal army. So a very nice game. I think maybe if he had incorporated Vipers a little more heavily, he might have had a better shot. When you're dealing with a lot of Widow Mines as well, I definitely feel like Broodlords are a good unit. Of course, the Vikings also are a good counter to Broodlords, but I definitely feel like Broodlords are a good unit against the Widow Mine. Mutas not so much because they do require to get up close and personal, but I definitely feel like Broodlords aren't a bad unit at all against Widowmine, so maybe if he had started to go for tier 3 Broodlords instead of staying on Roach Hydra for so long, he might have had a better chance. But as it stands, a good battle nevertheless, and I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. If you did, make sure to subscribe. Also, do send in any replays that you guys have, pro level players playing Heart of the Swarm, to hdreplays@gmail.com. I am looking at all replays. So for now, this is HD StarCraft, and I am signing out.